Welcome to Country Commuting in the Garden State, New Jersey's long, lovely commuter lines. This is Larry Krieg's rail video number 14, illustrating commuter trains serving low-density suburbs. For our first commute, let's get on the Raritan Valley Line in Newark's Penn Station and ride out to High Bridge. This line heads southwest from Newark through heavily populated areas. Here's a map showing the population density of the mid-part of New Jersey, with lighter colors indicating lower population. I've used a great online service called Population Explorer to produce this map, and created a corridor 1 kilometer on either side of the railroad. Here's Somerville, and you can see how the map colors get lighter after that point. Population Explorer calculates the population density within that corridor for us, and I made this simple bar graph to show the difference. Somerville to Newark, it's about 2,500 people per square kilometer, but beyond Somerville, it's only 400. Now here's a look at busy Newark Penn Station as a train to Princeton Junction comes in. Different locomotive, but the bi-level commuter coaches are exactly the same. Here's an aerial photo of Westfield, a town in the high-density region. Can you guess where the station is? All communities in this part of the state grew up around stations during the days when transit-oriented development was the only kind of development there was. Skipping over the many other stations on the route, let's go straight out to Somerville. We come into the station, a pretty typical example of the more densely populated regions. I've slowed the video so you can appreciate the new mixed-use mid-rise across the street from the station. Only a tiny percentage of the population, about 12%, lives beyond Somerville. And NJT runs only 7 of its 19 Raritan Line trains beyond Somerville, yet that's 27% of its service. Here's a taste of the countryside as we arrive in the bucolic town of High Bridge.
Watch your step as you leave the train. If you have small children, be sure to take them by the hand while leaving the train. If you need additional directions or information, please see a member of the train crew. Thank you for traveling with New Jersey Transit, and have a safe day.
High Bridge Station, last stop on this train, High Bridge.
For our second commute, let's take a look at the North Jersey coastline from Newark to Bay Head. This line follows the busy northeast corridor to Rahway, after which it branches east to Perth Amboy and continues as far as Long Branch under electric power. South of Long Branch is diesel territory. The population map shows a fairly high density throughout in contrast to the Raritan Valley Line. The red arrow points out Long Branch, and the graph shows that there's only a 10% dip in population density after Long Branch. Since you've had a glimpse of Newark Station, let's start in Rahway instead. Across the wide NEC right-of-way, we see a typical NJ Transit train hauled by a powerful Bombardier ALP-46 electric locomotive with a long string of single-level cars. The next clip, out on the Northeast Corridor Main, gives us a quick glimpse of a string of single-level cars in push mode, with a GP40 hustling on the tail. Now we just left Perth Amboy, which recently received an award to build a nice new station. We're crossing the mouth of the Raritan River, looking across to Staten Island. Voices in the background are from a train full of young teenagers and their parents going to some sort of festival. One of the reasons this line is interesting is that it serves both as a commuter and a resort train at the same time. This is a small part of the coast that received such heavy damage in October 2013 from Superstorm Sandy. Many parts of the rail line, including this one, had to be completely rebuilt. Unfortunately, the same is true of many of the communities along the line. In 2012, NJ Transit scheduled separate trains on the electric and diesel parts of this line. They actually ran more trains from Long Branch to Bay Head. This is what the beach at Bay Head looked like in March 2012. I'm afraid it probably looks a lot different after Superstorm Sandy. The aerial photo of the large NJT rail facility in Bay Head, with its balloon track for ease of turning trains around, is probably somewhat different now as well. For our final commute, let's go up to Secaucus and take the train to Port Jervis. This is a 95-mile line that starts in New Jersey and ends in New York State, operated jointly by NJT and MTA Metro North Railroad. After calling at Secaucus, the line heads north through New Jersey, crossing the border between Mahwah and Suffern, New York. I've used yellow pins for New Jersey stations and green pins for those in New York State. Then the line continues north until crossing the Moodna Viaduct, which we'll take a look at a little bit later, before hooking a left and continuing to Port Jervis, an old canal port on the Delaware River. Like the other lines we've visited, the population density in the beginning part of the route is quite high. This map shows the first segment of the line, from Hoboken to Tuxedo Junction. We're flying from about 300 miles high down to Hoboken Terminal. On the way, we can see the extensive rail lines leading to it, including the PATH subway under the Hudson to Manhattan. The current Hoboken Terminal building was built in 1907, but the location had served commuters for many decades before that. It now features 9 commuter lines, the PATH heavy rail electric service, the Hudson-Bergen light rail line, 2 ferry lines, and 9 bus lines. The beautiful waiting room was filled to a depth of 5 feet with water as a result of Superstorm Sandy. These photos give you an idea of the vast extent of the Hoboken rail yards. So now let's take off again from Hoboken Terminal and follow the rail line westward. The line of green we see is Bergen Hill. The rails dive through a tunnel under the hill and come out in the Jersey Meadows. Upon emerging, the line we're following swings northwest across the meadows until it gets to the massive Secaucus Frank J. Lauterberg Transfer Station. This station, also called Secaucus Junction, enables travelers on the Northeast Corridor and all other NJT lines to change trains in relative comfort, depending on what part of Manhattan they're going to or coming from. The central crossover is graced by a 30-foot-tall titanium glass and steel representation of cattails, symbolizing the meadows, swamp actually, in which the station was built. Though called a junction, there is no connection between the rail lines. Passengers must detrain and go to a different level in the station in order to change lines. The Northeast Corridor, widened to 4 tracks through the station, is on the upper level. These run from Newark Penn Station to Manhattan Penn Station. We're watching an NJT electric multiple unit train eastbound on the Northeast Corridor as it enters the station, followed by a train of bi-level coaches, apparently pushed by an electric locomotive. On the lower level are the tracks from Hoboken Terminal, fanning out from here to points north, northwest, and west. And approaching the lower level, this is our train. 5 single-level coaches with an MTA Metro North GP40 on the point today. Here's a comparison of population density. Between Hoboken and Tuxedo, we have a healthy 2,200 residents per square kilometer. But beyond Tuxedo, the density drops to about 1/10 of that amount. The dense portion of the line is surrounded by both old and new transit-oriented development. As we leave the inner ring of suburbs, the houses become more spread out and gracious. Beyond Tuxedo, there are two concentrations of people: Salisbury Mills, due north of Tuxedo, and Middletown to the northwest. Port Jervis itself is separated from its neighbors by a long stretch of beautiful forested and mountainous land. This is the town of Tuxedo itself. Let's fly in now to the spectacular Mutna Viaduct, immediately south of Salisbury Mills. I shot my video footage on the way back, going from north to south. So let's zoom in on the rail line north of Salisbury Mills. Park and ride at Salisbury Mills obviously draws commuters from a wide area. Here's a preview flyby. Unfortunately, it leaves the viaduct looking as if it had collapsed. As we start south from Salisbury in the train, I'll intersperse some photos that I wouldn't have been able to take myself, which are available on the web. Here's an aerial photo of the section we just saw from track level. Here are some scenes from beautiful Adirondack country, taken from the Port Jervis train. Port Jervis itself is a charming little town of 9,000 people, founded in 1857 at the west end of the Delaware and Hudson Canal. It's a beautiful 2.5-hour excursion. I certainly enjoyed myself, but I wonder why anyone would want to do that as a commute twice a day. Yet New Jersey Transit and Metro-North joined forces to run 12 round trips all the way to Port Jervis every weekday and 7 on the weekends. Don't miss it if you're in the New York area. When I took it 2 years ago, it was only $12.75 for an off-peak round-trip ticket. Well, I hope you enjoyed Larry Krieg's rail video number 14, Country Commuting in the Garden State. Look for more of Larry Krieg's rail videos in the near future.